Cheers, my friends. Welcome back. Jay, it looks like you owe everybody a share of AMC, my friend. 6 o'clock on the dot. Let's get started. I'm going to give everybody just a minute to hop in here first. What's going on, Road Dog? Good evening, partner. It is indeed a good one today. Jay, you're going to have to come up with a good amount of money here because you owe everybody a free share of AMC stock, it looks like. What's going on, Larry, Zach, Daniel? Jay. I know. That's good stuff. What's going on, Wild Boy? Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be funny. This isn't really about DeepSeek. As you guys might have imagined, it's a bit of a front for what's really happening. I'll explain what that is here. Hey, Paul. Thanks, my friend. It's always good to see you. I hope everything's going well with the family. Quant Trades, my friend. Welcome back once more. Typo negative. Always great to see you, man. Appreciate you very much. And will any of this help with AMC? Like most things, it doesn't have a direct path to your favorite stock. But everything in markets is interconnected in one way or another. Let's put it that way. Cubo Kino. It's good to see you, Gino. Wolfie is in the UK, so he's probably sleeping right now, to be honest with you. It's about midnight over there, so a lot of our European friends are not here at the moment. Seeing if it's between like midnight and 3 a.m. over there, depending on where they're at. So if you're watching this on the replay, huge shout out to you, everybody in Europe. Tanel asks, ready to be educated some more. Do you think they are using AMC tokens as false locates even after the FTX fiasco? Short answer, yes. Absolutely, in my opinion. Oh, we got Temecula, California in the house. What's going on, Andrade? It's good to see you. Brian, Blaze, welcome back. We start here in just a second. Just going to give people a chance to funnel in since I know there's a bit of a last-minute stream. Pulsar says, yes, you agree. All right, here's what's up, folks. How can I preface this? All right, ready? It should come as no surprise that Nancy Pelosi sold off her NVIDIA just a few weeks ago. She finally realized some significant profits on her call contracts and shares of NVIDIA stock right on time as usual. But it's going to shock you to realize that what's happening here is not 100% related to DeepSeek. There is, of course, a lot of talk on it on social media now as to being the reason for the current market correction of over $2 trillion being wiped out of the market capitalization. In markets, over $500 billion alone being due to NVIDIA dropping over 16.5% today. But the reality is, if you might have guessed, there's something bigger going on. And DeepSeek is it's just the news that's being told to people to get them to be okay with the scenario that we're currently seeing. Gino gets it. Gino gets it. The carry trade is a big deal. Before we start talking about the yen carry trade, let's take a look at DeepSeek real quick, because it is a massive disruptor. And the fact remains that NVIDIA, as well as a lot of AI stocks, took a massive hit because of them. When you compare the two and their capabilities, it's clear that DeepSeek has really accomplished a lot. This is basically a side project for some quants based out of China. There's been $2 trillion in market capitalization wiped out of the United States stock market today. $300 billion more wiped out of the crypto markets today. And one application, DeepSeek, with a $150 million valuation, wiped out $2.3 trillion from stocks and crypto. Sounds a little far-fetched, huh? Let's take a look and see what my president, your president, everybody's president, Donald Trump has to say about it.
Last week I signed an order revoking Joe Biden's destructive artificial intelligence regulations so that AI companies can once again...
This is kind of quiet, so I'm just going to go ahead and read it because I can't really hear him very well. So let me read it out loud for you. As the last two presidents have done with crazy regulations, they went crazy. I signed an order revoking Joe Biden's destructive artificial intelligence regulations so that AI companies can once again focus on being the best, not just being the most. And over the last couple of days, I've been reading about China and some of the companies in China, one in particular coming up with a faster method of AI and much less expensive method. And that's good because you don't have to spend as much money. I view that as a positive, as an asset. So I really think if it's true, and nobody really knows if it is, but I view that as a positive because you'll be doing that too. So you won't be spending as much and you'll get the same result. Hopefully the release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser focused on competing to win, because we have the greatest scientists in the world. Even Chinese leadership told me that. They said, you have the most brilliant scientists in the world and various places. But Silicon Valley, they said, there's nobody like those people. This is very unusual when you hear DeepSeek, when you hear somebody come up with something. We always have the ideas. We're always first. So I would say that's a positive. That could be very much a positive development. Instead of spending billions and billions, you'll spend less and you'll come up with hopefully the same solution. Now, a lot of people are wondering, how did they do this? And the fact is that this guy is absolutely correct. He is the founder of Scale AI, Alexander Wang. And he is correct. We'll show you the assessments now, the actual white papers on the top performing AI models. And he's telling us the fact that China and DeepSeek has hardware that they can't come out and say that they have. This I do definitely believe to be true.
You know, the Chinese labs, they have more H100s than people think. You know,
and these are the highest powered NVIDIA chips that they were not supposed to have.
Yes. My understanding is that DeepSeek has about 50,000 H100s, which they can't talk about, obviously, because it is against the export controls that the United States has put in place. And I think it is true that, you know, I think they have more chips than other people expect, but also on a go-forward basis, they are going to be limited by the chip controls and the export controls that we have in place. You know,
of course, he is completely correct in that in order for them to be able to pull this off and have the computing power that they currently have, there must absolutely be tens of thousands of these chips there that China's not supposed, that aren't supposed to be in China. Reality. the AI of DeepSeek is obviously a Chinese company. So there are certain things that it does not say. It won't even mention Tiananmen Square. As of right now, the cost for millions of tokens, which basically means pings to DeepSeek AI, is incredibly cheap. Incredibly cheap. You can see DeepSeek here is even above Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is, in my opinion, one of the absolute best AI models currently available to the general public. And it is very cheap to do so, to get tens of millions of tokens in order to get the API for using it. Here, let me scoot it over this way so you can see. And there is a promotional period going on right now. But I do think that that was going to continue. They're going to continue with the incredibly low rates as they want more people to pick up DeepSeek and to continue to use it. And you can see here that DeepSeek's founders claim the model cost them $6 million. And then, of course, people are speculating that that's just a side project, by the way. DeepSeek is not their main bread and butter. It is a side project for these quants. So a lot of people are under the impression that they are shorting NVIDIA in order to make significant profits, which I would see that as a very likely thing to do. And it makes perfect sense to do it. But their holding company for DeepSeek is a quant company. And these are really intelligent guys with absolute top-notch mathematical backgrounds. And they already owned a ton of GPUs for trading and mining purposes for cryptocurrencies. And this is basically just their side project. And people are calling that equivalent to George Soros breaking the British pound in terms of artificial intelligence today. And you can look at here directly on their website and see their information. Rowan says DeepSeek just dropped another open source AI model, Janus Pro 7B. And it's a multimodal, which can generate multiple images and beats OpenAI's DALL-E 3 and Stable Diffusion across GenEval and DPG benchmarks. This is on top of all the R1 hype, and it is absolutely phenomenal. When you look at the pictures that this thing's cranking out, it looks great. It looks great. It looks very similar or better than what you can get on Midjourney and other top-tier generating sites. Just for reference. In case you're wondering what this is, it decouples visual encoding for multimodal understanding and generation. And it uses visual encoders to create small images. The thing about this is that it is completely open source, downloadable, and can be used offline, unlike other AIs. I'm going to give you guys a couple examples here, real quick. Grandpa Barney, I got to read this out because this is funny. It says, laugh my ass off. AMC was so cheap today, and guess what Grandpa did? I ate AMC and got fatter. Cheers, my friends. Taking advantage of the nice dips on the market. I think that was a really smart move, especially when you're getting extremely high-value companies like AMC at such a great deal. So well done. And in case you guys didn't see this before, this is what it looks like. Let me maximize this. When DeepSeek is actually thinking in real time. It is phenomenally fast. And it is not just spitting out one answer. It is like, what we do when we say we think out loud. It takes an interpretation, it decodes this phrase of letters, thinks step by step, and using the above example to decode, it goes through step by step, thinks about, okay, this could mean that, this could mean this. Let me go ahead and run through steps 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, we've arrived at the next level, moving forward and evaluating further and further to come up with a conclusion. And it actually solved it perfectly. And the answer highlights 3 R's in the decoded strawberry based on the cipher, though the standard spelling has 2. And it even tells you there are 3 R's in strawberry. And even comes up with any issues or problems that there might be. You can build a browser agent without code using it. You can code games and websites and so on without knowing how to do it. It can literally help you do it with absolutely zero experience. If you use a variety of different softwares and codes available on GitHub, it gives you the ability to create anything from websites to applications to code video games. And while you can do this with other artificial intelligences, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of them out there. But let's put it this way. Sometimes the code is very ugly. It is hard to decipher. It is hard to put together. It has a lot of issues. It has errors. And it is far from perfect. But it definitely seems like DeepSeek is doing a really great job. Let's take a look at some of these. It can run on your Apple iPhone 16. Now, you can, of course, use ChatGPT and other web-based AIs from the website on your phone, but this can actually run it natively on your iPhone without internet access. Now, that's really important because companies such as LitExchange could, for example, use a chat agent offline from our own internal servers using DeepSeek without it being connected to the internet or being connected to DeepSeek's servers as well. And I'm using that as a theoretical example of a way that companies can do it in order to provide you guys the ability to get further assistance when simple assistance is needed, right? You can build perplexity with DeepSeek reasoner models in about an hour without code. You can create retrieval augmented thinking, the enhanced version of RAG with structured reasoning and knowledge retrieval. It is 100% open source and 96% cheaper than OpenAI while delivering similar performance. And the reasoning through complex medical questions is pretty damn spot on. It can extract just the reasoning from DeepSeek Reasoner. And I think these guys are really on point in their assessment from the AI colony. So I got to give that a like. And as I was telling you guys earlier, looking at the benchmarks of this thing, it's right up there with the best of them. The average performance jump from Janus Pro 1B to Janus Pro 7B has been huge in terms of their multimodal understanding benchmarks. From their general evaluation and their accuracy percentage, it is as high as 80 to 84%, and that is very similar to what I found with Claude Sonnet and with ChatGPT, just in case you guys were unaware. Now, let's move on a little bit forward here. You guys may or may not know this, but OpenAI has 10 years old and has 4,500 employees and has raised $6.6 billion in capital. They have plenty of cash on hand. DeepSeek, on the other hand, was founded 2 years ago, has 200 employees, and was developed for less than $10 million. People are wondering, how are these companies now competitors? They're not wrong. Look at the numbers. Here you go. Here's an actual perfect assessment for you guys, in case you're unaware. You can see here in dark blue with the lines across it is DeepSeek version 3. And in all the way on the right side, in the very lightly colored beige, the lightest color khaki, is Claude Sonnet. And next to that is GPT 4.0. You can see Claude Sonnet, as I was telling you guys, is, in my opinion, the best. Right behind it is DeepSeek v3. And then behind that would be Llama 3.1 and GPT 4.0. Again, same thing happens here with Sonnet leading the way, with GPQA Diamond, DeepSeek being second. And in math, DeepSeek is actually way, way better than either Llama, GPT, Claude Sonnet, or Quen, scoring a 90th percentile in accuracy in math. That is massive, especially when you think that this was created by quants specializing in math from China. So that is really sick news. Seeing code forces as well. Look at how much better it is in the percentile range than all of the competition. That is what happens when small companies innovate. That is what happens when they are not beholden to their hedge funds. Here's another example. DeepSeek is the best model available right now. It's at the level of 01, but you can use it for free and it's much faster. A huge leap forward that nobody saw coming. No wonder so many people are throwing tantrums online. Let me open this up for you so you can actually see this video, because it is pretty sick. He says, no wonder people are throwing tantrums online trying to discredit the Chinese who built this. You can use DeepSeek in Visual Studio Code right now. If you install an extension called Quoto Gen AI and then select DeepSeek R1 from the list of models, you can use the Quoto team is actually going to host DeepSeek on their servers, so the data will not go to China. Because right now, if you use DeepSeek, the data goes to China. But if you use it through Quoto's AI extension, the data doesn't go there because it's hosted on DeepSeek's. It's hosted on their servers, on Quoto's. This guy, as you can see, I was building a Tetris game model using DeepSeek, and this is the most impressive model I've seen thus far. And the code looks good. I haven't coded in a long time, but the code looks good at a glance. Yes, their API is open source, my friend. I did just see your chat, Quant Trades. Their API is open source. I know you personally are also huge into those kinds of things, into creating different kinds of bots and so on. So that might actually be really helpful for you and other small businesses and other people. Again, Operator is $200 a month to create a chat agent. And you can create an agent that uses a web browser without writing a single line of code. You can combine DeepSeek R1 and browser use, which is it's free and open source extension as well. And you can go ahead and do it like that, as I was showing you guys this video just moments ago. He creates prompt templates, use browser use to initiate DeepSeek R1, and just go to town and use a chat agent. And I'll give you guys a little example here. Let me see if he's got it in his video. I can sneak forward here. with documentation, which is really sick. I'm going to pause this for a second for the time being. This is where the trouble comes in. A lot of people are freaking out because it sends your data to China. Now, this is correct. It will log your keys. It will log your keystrokes, which means it will literally detect every single button that you push and being able to send it to China. The information, your user content, your data, diagnostics, identifier, and your contact info will, of course, be sent to China. Keystroke patterns, rhythms, IP addresses, operating systems, device models, system languages, anything at all that they can get their hands on is going to go to the CCP. The thing is, if you use a phone that was created in China, there's likely a chance that they're already doing that. And if you host DeepSeek off of the internet or on your own servers, it can be isolated and used offline so your data wouldn't go to China. So this guy, Brian, brings up a great point. He says the most amazing aspect of DeepSeek is that just the reasoning engine can be isolated and used with any other LLM. In fact, you can have a mixture of reasoning engines cascade around a problem and then use an operator-type agent AI to function on the results, which is really sick. Because you can have multitudes of different kinds of responses through your chat agent. The chat agent, think of it as like one of those chat bots, if you will, right? Think of it like that. But instead of just going to one reasoning process, it can actually spit it through a variety of different artificial intelligences for you. Come out with the best solution and provide it to you in that way. Now let's talk about what is really causing this sell-off today, because it's not DeepSeek. I know a lot of people think it is, but it's not. It's this little thing called the yen carry trade. And on Friday, the Bank of Japan raised interest rates to their highest since 2008 and revised up their inflation forecast, underscoring their confidence that rising wages will keep inflation stable around their 2% target. I'm sure if you're not familiar with this, you're probably wondering, what the hell does that have to do with the United States stock market? As I said in the beginning of this video, everything is interconnected. They said the decision marks the BOJ's first rate hike since July of last year and comes days after the inauguration of President Trump, who is likely to keep global policymakers vigilant, blah, blah, blah. If you were unaware, what caused the largest sell-off of 2024? It was the yen carry trade. What is a carry trade, and how did a small rate hike in Japan just trigger a global sell-off? This was on August 5th of 2024. Because on the 4th and 5th, markets and indices recorded their biggest one-day loss in 2 years. They've made it up since then, but not by a whole lot. And just now, we are seeing very similar issues happen once more. They raised the interest rates a measly 0.25%. And when the yen carry trade first caused these problems in 2024, that I'm showing you here on my screen right now, they raised them 0.15%. So what we're seeing today was a larger rate increase than occurred in 2024. Now I'm going to give you guys a quick breakdown. I found this here from TFTC 21. I've explained this to you guys, but a lot of people want to follow along because you can understand better when you can read along. So I'm going to read it out to you because there's no audio here. The yen carry trade and how to lose easy money. This basically explains with bullet points, in case you want to pause it, what is the yen carry trade and why it affects the entire world in less than 90 seconds. So check this out. Pay attention if you don't know what it is. Traders borrow money in a low interest rate currency. That money is converted into another currency, and that's invested in the new currency at a 0% rate. It's guaranteed profit until it's not. The yen yield goes up, the new currency yield goes down, the yen and new currency conversion rate goes down, which is what we're seeing here with the interest rates increasing. One, they borrow yen, they convert it to a different fiat like the US dollar, they buy an asset, and then they rake in a profit. This only lasts as long as Japan does not raise their interest rate or the United States doesn't lower theirs. What if the USD yen exchange rate goes down by 10%? Now we're talking about just a measly 10% drop. If it does, they still owe the 1 billion yen that they originally borrowed, but now they have to obviously pay back more. So what goes from being, with a 10% change, it goes from being 6.9 million for the 1 billion yen for a profit of 276,000 a year to having to pay back $7.7 million for that same $1 billion yen. And that's turning over a quarter million profit to almost a $500,000 loss. Does that make sense? How a tiny change in interest rates can cause that? So what if the value of bonds and stocks you've invested in falls? Again, 6.5 million in those bonds is a $500,000 loss. So it's a very, very easy to lose money through this arbitrage of the fiat currencies. And if the yen interest rate rises, like it did here, as you can see in the chart, what happens? The 1 billion yen at 3% goes from being a $276,000 gain to a $138,000 loss. Now, what happens when you have all three? The US dollar, yen, the United States dollar loses value to the Japanese yen. The NASDAQ for the stock market loses value, and Japanese interest rates gain value, which is exactly what we're seeing. What happens? Well, take a look at this. That $276,000, of course, by definition of a leverage trade, when a leverage trade goes wrong, it unwinds fast, and it takes down innocent assets with it. This is the domino effect. Don't be surprised if stocks, bonds, treasuries, and etc., cryptocurrencies, other asset classes continue to go down. If a fund blows up, they don't just unwind the yen carry trade, they liquidate everything. Fire sales of assets. And again, this is what we're seeing happen right now. And it's no surprise to me that what we've been seeing here is nothing new. If you Google or look up on YouTube DeepSeek, you're not going to find one, but you're going to find tons and tons and tons of different videos, not just from today, but from weeks, over the last several weeks. You can see that on YouTube, on Reddit, everywhere you go. And this is more than just today. You can see things that are 3 days old, 5 days old, a week old, 2 weeks old. People have been talking about DeepSeek for a considerable period of time. Granted, there are a lot of new videos and new information coming out, such as this, but you're not going to get all of the information from all sources. There's a lot of people out there that specialize in AI or in coding and so on, or in stock market, and they only see things from one side or the other. But on this channel, we are heavy into macroeconomics, and we are well versed in artificial intelligence as well, cryptocurrencies, physical assets, precious metals. And we have been eyeballing the Japan carry trade, the yen carry trade here for a couple of years now, before it even started to collapse. That's exactly what is affecting this right now. Although DeepSeek is a massive wake-up call to the industry, as I told you guys, is the case. It is fantastic. It is cheap. It is open source. And in many ways, it's free for the end user. But it is not the reason for what we saw today, with over $2 trillion being wiped out of United States stock market, $300 billion being wiped out of cryptocurrency markets, and $550 billion being wiped out of NVIDIA's market cap. That is directly related to the yen carry trade. And the DeepSeek information that you guys are seeing now is simply the narrative. Hence, that's the reason that Nancy Pelosi sold off her NVIDIA calls after holding them for over a year just a couple weeks ago. Somebody always knows. If you're concerned about a lot of these situations that we're currently seeing in stocks and crypto, if you're concerned about market manipulation, if you're concerned about deep dark pools being used to front run your trades and suppress the price of equities, and if you're concerned about DeepSeek uprooting what you guys currently know about NVIDIA, AMD, and other AI companies, you need to look at LitExchange. LitExchange is currently offering a private equity investment via the Jobs Act. And this is the first time in history that any company is doing so. For the first time in the history of the world, an upcoming stock and crypto brokerage is going to be routing your orders directly to lit markets and avoiding wholesalers, avoiding dark pools, and avoiding the market manipulation that allows them to create synthetic shares and manipulate markets and do shit like this. That being the case, we have spent $0 on advertising or marketing. And so far, over 300 retail investors have already invested over $500,000 in the upcoming stock and crypto brokerage LitExchange. When we start advertising, we will reach our final goal and then it will be closed. So if you want to, get in now while you still can. And when we IPO in the next couple of years, as we plan to do, you will then have the opportunity for a significant liquidity event where you could then sell your shares of LitExchange. This is a private equity investment. It is not a publicly listed company yet, but when it does go public, you will not be able to get the number of shares that you could get right now, not by a long shot, for a fraction of the cost. So this is an opportunity for people to potentially make significant amounts of money. You can find our SEC filings with the Securities Exchange Commission Edgar website directly from the litexchange.com website. It is also linked below. And you can also visit the FINRA regulated funding portal and broker dealer Silicon Prairie if you'd like to invest in LitExchange. So again, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity and it will not be available again in the future.
I want to be clear. I do not respect the SEC.
We made the decision in the morning to limit the buying.
I want to be clear. I do not respect the SEC.
We made the decision in the morning to limit the buying of about 13 securities on our platform. So we're really in unprecedented times. In order to protect the firm, we had to limit buying.
That markets are efficient because of active managers setting the prices of securities. Firms like Citadel, we're all running large teams of people that are engaged in fundamental research, trying to drive the value of companies towards where we think they should be valued.
Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX, he's been charged by US courts and the SEC with money laundering, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and securities fraud for the collapse of FTX. The former chairman of NASDAQ, Bernie Madoff, built the largest Ponzi scheme in history. Over 4 decades, he faked records of annual gains to investors who thought he was investing their funds, when in fact, he was just using new investor capital to pay off older investors.
But the synthetic shorting and naked shorting, which is illegal, market maker can execute naked shorts insofar as they're facilitating a trade. The regulators are looking at that now as to whether or not there was this naked shorting by the market makers on behalf of the hedge funds in order to facilitate the shorts. And I think they're going to uncover that there were some issues there. But the penalty for naked shorting is really not significant enough to stop it. Citadel and Goldman and all of the players get fined constantly for doing this.
Hedge funds and other Wall Street firms have teams of analysts working together to compile research and analyze shares of companies. Individual investors do not have those resources.
I basically would like to ask the SEC why they didn't act on the morning of January 28th, because I was so scared. I can't tell you how scared I was. I was so scared. I can't tell you how scared I was.
Well, Thomas, what were you scared about? Just that, what does failure look like? You said we came close to breaking. What were you scared of?
I was scared of a domino bankruptcy. I tell you, the rules require the long brokers to go into the market and buy the shares at whatever price. So that drove the shares up to $480, and then suddenly it didn't go further, but it could have gone further.
So buying and selling those 200 shares would make the market maker $1. But as millions of shares are traded, the profits from the spread add up. In 2020, these brokerages collected almost $2.6 billion in payments for stock and option orders.
These brokers, including Interactive Brokers and Robinhood, that generate revenue from selling the order flow to market makers.
Business has always been done like this on Wall Street for over 100 years.
Our orders compete against each other to get the best prices. But if the order instead is routed to a wholesaler that has agreed to pay for it, the order is not going to an exchange and is not necessarily receiving the benefit of that broader competition.
As you mentioned about commission or zero commission does not mean it's free. It does have some cost inside. Some brokers have payment for order flow.
Disclosure alone, by enhancing the disclosure around payment for order flow, really will address it. United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, all have banned payment for order flow. I know we have different markets, different systems. We even have letters that we've gotten over the years, dating back over the last 20 years, articulating why it's not good for our system. So I really ask staff to consider that, but also to consider it only in the context of the entire market structure.
On January 28th, our daily deposit requirement was 10 times more than on January 25th. As a result, Robinhood Securities imposed temporary trading restrictions on certain securities. Robinhood Securities put the restrictions in place in an effort to meet increased regulatory deposit requirements.
The decision to restrict trading really was internal to Robinhood. We did not have discussions about that. Like GameStop, AMC, all these meme stocks have brought naked short selling really to the forefront of the market's interest. This is something that's going on for a very long time in the small cap market and is very much a problem.
Has your husband ever made a stock purchase or sale based on information he received from you?
No, absolutely not. Okay.
Thank you.
Those are fully collateralized tokens.
The markets are efficient because of active managers setting the prices of securities.
The order is not going to an exchange and is not necessarily receiving the benefit of that broader competition.
Fact is, folks, none of these pricks is going to stop manipulating markets. None of these regulators are going to prevent market makers from legally shorting your stock. Market makers can legally naked short any stock they want to bring the price down. They do so because of payment for order flow. They buy your orders from Robinhood, Webull, Charles Schwab, IBKR. You saw how much money they make from it. They're all making billions and billions of dollars. And the market makers can afford to pay more than the lit exchanges because they can front run your fucking trades, give you IOUs, create synthetic shares and phantom shares. These just ghost shares in your account that don't really exist. And then if they can't buy them on the open market for cheaper, they simply fail to deliver. That creates a synthetic share, a fake share that is in your account that artificially dilutes the stock price that you're trying to go long on. So while you're trying to make money, they're pilfering your brokerage account, your bank account, taking money and food from your family's table. The only way this is going to change is if you go out there and invest in a company that is going to change it for you. And this would be really easy. Any company could do this, but the reality of it is they're making way too much money to want to stop. They don't care about your well-being, whereas we do. The difference is here that Lit Exchange is going to be using artificial intelligence in a way that has never been done before. It will enable you to harness the power of AI and thousands and thousands of other people to create a level of swarm intelligence that has never existed in any brokerage firm in the history of the world. Our engineering team and development team has been working extremely hard for many, many months to wrap this up here. And we are on the precipice of finalizing everything in order to be able to launch in the near-term future. The beauty of it is, not only will it prevent market manipulation via those wholesalers using payment for order flow to buy your orders and process them in dark pools, internalize the trades, yada, yada, yada. It will also provide a level of artificial intelligence and swarm intelligence that is currently inconceivable. And it's inconceivable because you've never seen it before in the world. We are doing things within Lit Exchange that have never been done before because we actually care about retail investors, because we are retail investors. I want my kids, your kids, our great-great-great-grandkids to be able to trade on fair markets. And if you're watching this video right now, you're one of the few people in the world that actually know about Lit Exchange right now. And that should be exciting, because when we start advertising it and marketing it, and you start seeing these ads on YouTube and Rumble, and I'm not talking on this video, I'm talking about across all sorts of videos, on television, movie theaters, billboards, radio, Spotify, etc. People are going to find out about this, and they're likely going to pile in. A lot of people won't. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people won't pile into the Founders Program because most people, they're not pioneers. They can't be the first ones to adopt something. It's the first adopters, the founding members, that will have the significant potential to make massive gains when we IPO in the next couple of years. Those that don't are going to be looking at the IPO wishing they had gotten in on the ground floor. So I will leave you with that for now, ladies and gentlemen. We will discuss more tomorrow, as tomorrow is the 4-year anniversary of Robinhood and all of these other brokerages pulling the buy button and making retail investors unable to buy over 50 securities, including AMC, GameStop, COS, BBBY, SLV, the silver ETF, and many, many more. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you for being here with me. Thank you guys for all of your comments, all of your support, and for your investment in Lit Exchange. Again, if you're watching this right now, you are one of the few people in the world that actually knows that this is coming. You have an opportunity to do something that most people will never have in their lives, and that has a lot of potential. Cheers, my friends. I wish you peace and wealth. Make sure you're properly hedged.